All right, let's start. So, could you tell me your full name, please?
I am Soyeon Lee, and my English name is Angelina.
Okay, perfect. And are you working or are you a student?
I was a student until this year, June, and I am now taking a gap year.
Okay. And what do you like to do when you have some free time?
Mm, I like to listen to some music. I am also a singer myself, so I practice singing as well.
Okay. Now we're going to talk about public transportation. So, what kind of public transport do you usually take?
Mm, so there are a few options in Korea if you want to take public transportation. My favorite one is the subway because it always makes you get places on time, and unlike the bus, there is no traffic or unexpected events that you need to consider when moving.
And when do you usually take public transport?
I take public transport, I think most of the time when I need to get to places, when my parents aren't able to take me, give me a ride, and because I have a driver's license, I can drive, but I'd say I take the public transport when my parents don't trust me with their cars.
Okay. And do you think most people in your country prefer public transportation or private transportation?
Mm, if we were to talk about the country, I'd say private, but because we live in the busiest city in the country, I think it might be better for some people to take public transportation.
And did you take public transport when you were a child?
A few times that I can remember, but mostly I think I traveled by car because my parents thought it might be safer.
Okay. Now we're going to talk about science. So, do you like science?
Not really.
Not really.
Well, it depends which branch of science you're talking about, but overall, I think I'm a more humanities-oriented person.
Okay. And when did you start to learn about science?
I might have had some experimental lessons preschool, but I think my lessons began in year one.
Okay. And what kind of interesting things have you done with science?
My school, there is something called the STEM project. So you kind of work as a group towards an investigative goal that you set yourselves. And you conduct the experiments yourself and write up a report. I think that was the most kind of interesting experience for me.
And do people in your country often visit science museums?
Personally, that's not my favorite place, but I think it is kind of popular among people to visit museums, and one of them would be Science Museum.
Okay. And do you like watching science TV programs?
I think I enjoyed watching some National Geographic videos. When it gets to the details, I switch channels, but yeah, I think I do.
Okay.
In general.
All right, very nice. That'll do for part one. So now let's go on to part two. Keep it going. So this is your part two question. All right, I'll just give you a pencil there. So I'll give you 1 minute to prepare and do some note taking, okay? All right, you can begin. All right, that's 1 minute now. Okay, so yeah, could you describe a problem you had while shopping online or in a store?
So the problem I had was when I was shopping for my prom dress. It happened this June because that's when the prom happened. My problem was that I didn't like the design. So there were a few options, but the one I chose at the end wasn't still like my best choice. So I had to ship it early and then do some fixing myself. How I felt about the experience was that I was at first very nervous that I might not have a good dress for prom, basically. And then afterwards, I felt that I could make some changes myself and that I didn't need to just stick to what the shopping malls had for me. I could just make it more satisfying for my eyes myself.
Okay. All right. Very nice. Now we're going to go on to part 3 of the test. Okay. So yeah, just answer these questions. Okay. So, what kind of customer service do you think is good?
Could you clarify what you mean by customer service?
Yeah, so when people go shopping, like what sort of service do people usually expect a good customer service?
Well, I guess you would have to be nice and be able to give answers to people's queries, like, where is this shop? Yeah, I think that would be like kind of the basics that people would expect.
And what do you think people should do if the customer service they receive is not satisfactory?
There would be a few ways to deal with that kind of problem. Well, the shop might have like a complaint service themselves, where they can like write like a short comment on their website or submit it to their superior. Otherwise, there might be out-of-store review system where you can share your opinion with other customers who might think about going there, but maybe you don't want to encourage them as much.
And what do you think are the differences between shopping online and shopping in store?
The biggest difference might be that you can't try those clothes on. I think the camera technology has evolved very much so that you can kind of feel the texture through screen. I think that kind of problem has been less of a nuisance for a couple of years, but I think still being able to try it on yourself and see how it fits is kind of like the biggest crucial thing that kind of divides the shopping styles.
And why do you think some people prefer online shopping rather than going to stores?
It's much quicker. You don't have to get out of bed to do it. And I think it's easier to compare different options. We can literally have many windows open and then have a look at what you can buy with limited budget. So I think that's why people prefer it.
Yes, yes. And so do you think in the future in-store shopping will become a thing of the past?
That's a difficult question. In the near future, I'd say no. If we're talking about like 100 years time, maybe, but I don't think it would be the case for like premium stores. We still want to try on kind of like the most expensive clothes before making that large purchase. And I think there is that extra bit of kind of care you can get from like in-person meetings, like, sorry, when you go to a tailor to get you a suit, I think that kind of thing can only happen in person. So maybe they fade out like overall, but I think some of the most premium stores would remain regardless of how much technology gets better.
Indeed. And what do you think customers should do when they have a problem with something they bought online?
Online. I think online shopping malls also have a similar process of how they deal with complaints. But it might be harder because you don't have that personal kind of experience with the seller. So I think the response would be also similar to what you would do in an offline shopping mall. You can post complaints to their superiors or like a representative kind of board of that shopping company, or you can share your opinions with other customers. I think that's much easier for online shopping malls because they require like a review section so that people can have more trust in their products. So yes, I think those would be the responses.
Okay, perfect. That'll do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so to start with the feedback, I think that was a really good test. I would estimate the score to be 8.5 today, really clear the whole way. One thing I would say in part 2, try to speak a little bit longer. Your speech was like about a minute or a little bit less than a minute. So in part 2, it should be from 1 to 2 minutes long. So try and get into a little bit more detail if you can, right? That's the only thing. Part 1 questions, yeah, just make sure and always give a reason for your answer. And I know science is not really your thing, but in the real exam,
Don't say that.
Oh, no, you can. You can say that, that's fine. Like you can say I don't really like science, but just the examiner will continue giving you science questions. So don't be surprised if you say I don't like science and they come back and keep asking you. That's normal. But just always explain, give reasons why. Yeah, reasons why in part 1. In terms of like grammar, errors, very few, right? Maybe one time you said about your prom dress, I had to ship it early. Instead of ship it, I would say like get it shipped, using like the passive voice. Yeah, I had to get it shipped early because the company are the ones shipping it. Yeah. You said as well in part 3, in an offline shopping mall. I would say like just in a shopping mall. I don't think you need to use the word offline. Yeah. So I'd say usually we say online or in store. Yeah, with either one. But yeah, fluency, pronunciation, it's all really good. So that was a really nice test. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.